Guys, it's Heyyyy and welcome back to my channel. In today's video we are going to be doing my September reading wrap up. So first I'm going to go through all the books that are on my September TBR and I'm going to go through them and see if I've read them, if I've read them, what I rated them. If I haven't, I don't know what, I'm just going to say I haven't read them. So these are the 6 books I chose for my September TBR. The first book I chose was Daydream and I did read this and I remember really liking it. And I remember Henry was like, he wasn't diagnosed with anything, but he had, I don't know what the right term for is it neurodivergent? Something along like that. It was like hinted he could have that, and I felt such a deep connection. And then I also felt such a deep connection to Hallie, with how she's like a people pleaser and things like that. So I gave this 4 stars. 4 stars? No, 5 stars. Because it was just phenomenal. I'd been looking forward to Henry's book throughout the other 2 books because the snippets you used to get to see of him were. And this book did not disappoint. The second book on my September TBR was Jasper Vale by Devoney Perry. I did not read this one. There's quite a few I didn't read on my September TBR. I just didn't get round to reading them because I have videos planned and they kind of didn't fall into those videos. And then I just didn't have time to read them outside of those videos. This is the 4th book in the Eden series and I've read the first 3 and I loved each one of them. And I'm looking forward to carry on with this series. The 3rd book I chose for my September TBR was Light Lark by Alex Astor. And I read this in reading fantasy books for a week and I really did enjoy this. I can't remember if I gave it 4 or 4.5, let me have a look. I gave this a 4 stars. And I think it's because it took me a while to get into it and into the world, but once I did get into it, it was so good. There was twists, there was turns, and I think I remember the twist at the end, and I was like just so shocked. And I really just want to read the next one. So hopefully next month I might be able to pick it up, I'm not sure, because next year the 3rd book in this series is coming out. The next book I chose for my September TBR was Only When It's Us by Chloe Lise. I remember I really enjoyed this because the main the MMC, he is like deaf from like, I don't know how to explain it without spoiling anything. Let's just say he's deaf and he hasn't spoken since he's become deaf because he hasn't always been deaf. And it's just like his love story with Willa, I believe her name is, yeah. And the way he like opens up to her. And I gave this 4.5 stars. This is the 1st book in the Bergman Brothers series. And I've got the special editions for them because they were so pretty. I was like, I need the special editions and I don't want them to sell out. I don't think they've sold out yet, but I just wanted to get them because they're so pretty. And I haven't read any other books, but this is the first one I've read and I really did enjoy it. The next book I chose for my September TBR was The Naturals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. I didn't get a chance to read this, but it's now on my October TBR because I do have a video planned where I'm going to be reading the whole series. And I'm really excited to read the whole series because people say it's more like a Criminal Minds, and if you know me, I love Criminal Minds. It's one of my comfort shows. So I'm really excited to see what this is about. And the last book on my TBR for September was The Long Game by Elena Armas. I did not read this book either because I just didn't get enough time. There wasn't enough hours to read this month because I was quite busy with work. I am excited to read this because I've read the two other books by Elena Armas and I really did enjoy them. I gave them both. Did I give them both 4.5 or I gave The Spanish of Deception 4.5. I can't remember what I gave the other one I've read by her. It might have been a 4. But anyway, I did enjoy them, so when I do get a chance, I am looking forward to read this. The lighting just keeps changing because the sound keeps going in and out and it's really annoying. I feel like it's going to go back in any moment. Yeah, there we go. It's gone back in. But anyway, then now we're going to go on to the books that weren't on my physical TBR that I did read. One of the ones I picked up was There Is No Devil by Sophie Lark. This is the 2nd book in the Sinner duet, and it follows Cole and Mara. I don't really want to say much about it, but they're both like in the art world and Cole is like really rich from it. And Mara she's got nothing. And he finds, I can't remember how they meet or whatever, but then he kind of like stalks her for a bit and then, yeah, that's in the first one. But I don't really want to say anything else because I don't want to spoil it, but I did really enjoy this duet and I would recommend it if you do love a bit of dark romance. If you've read any of Sophie Lark's other books and you've liked them, I would recommend it. I almost forgot what to say. What star rating I gave this? I gave this a 4.5 stars. The next book I read was a poem book. It's Learning to Love by Gabrielle Sawyer. And she kindly like sent it to me and she sent like a box of loads of little bits and bobs. And it was so sweet, so thoughtful. So go check her out if you haven't. You can find her on TikTok and Instagram. And go purchase her book, because this book is phenomenal. The poems in it, I felt such connection to some of them. I was crying. I was like shedding tears within the first like couple of poems I read. So I just can't recommend this enough. And it's such, you could read it in like an hour or two, because it's such a small little book. I just felt such an impact from it. And I've never really, apart from when I was in school, I've never really read poetry. And I feel like I might want to read more of it, but I've already got too many books on my TBR, so that might have to wait for a bit. I think I've forgotten what to say, what star rating this one was as well. I gave this 5 stars. The next book I read is the book I read in my scavenger hunt that I posted on this channel, and it's The Wall of Winnipeg and Me by Mariana Zapata. What I remember about this has my favourite trope. Now I've said this, I'm going to say something about my favourite trope at the end of the video, so you'll probably know what it is in this, so I'm going to say it anyway. But it's marriage of convenience, and it doesn't say it on the back, but when I found out that was in this book, when I read that part, I was like, no, and I really enjoyed it. It is an American football romance, and I believe she was his like personal like assistant for like 2 years, and then she's decided to leave, but he can't let her leave, and he begs her to stay, and then they end up being in like a marriage of convenience. That's what I remember of it, and the tension. It was so good. And I gave this book a 4.5 stars. The next book I read was When the Moon Hatched by Sarah A. Parker. And I have mixed feelings about this, because I really did enjoy it, but I feel like it wasn't the right type of fantasy for me, because I was really looking for some more dragon fantasies, because I've loved Fourth Wing, and this is the only other dragon fantasy I've read, and I didn't like it. Well, I did like it, but then I didn't really understand it. I found it a bit confusing, and there's a glossary. I didn't read the glossary. That's probably why I didn't understand what was going on. But the glossary is like pages and pages long, and I'm like, I don't want to have to read that to be able to understand a book and keep flipping back and forth, because I'm not going to be able to remember all these terms. I did think the writing was absolutely beautiful, but it just wasn't for me. But I still gave it 3 stars, which is still a good rating, but I can understand why people do like it. But for me, personally, it wasn't for me. The next book I read was Assistant to the Villain by Hannah Nicole Mara. This was so good. I remember really loving like the interaction, because basically the villain, you find out what his name is. His name begins with T, but I can't really remember what it was. But the villain, he is running away from someone, and then Evie kind of like, I can't remember where, they're near the forest or something like that, and then Evie starts to see someone, and then he like, I can't remember, it's something along the lines of that. That's all in the prologue. And then he asks her to be his assistant, and she says yes, because she needs money, because her dad's sick and she's got to look after her younger sister. So she's like, oh yeah, I take the job. So she becomes the assistant to the villain, and the king, I believe the king of like the world, is trying to find him, capture him, because nobody knows what the villain looks like unless you work for him. The frog, Kingsley, he's on the little corner up here. He was so funny. He was only in like a couple of scenes, but I really liked his character. In Barnes & Nobles, they sell like a little plushie, and if I want to get it, I have to, there's companies that you can have a shipping address in the US, then they will send it over to the country you live in, and I'm really tempted to do that, to get the plushie. But anyway, that's kind of about the book, but not about my review about it. But anyway, I remember like because basically someone starts to sabotage like the house that the villain operates out of, and this book is trying to find out who is sabotaging them. And when you find out who it is, my jaw was on the floor. I was in shock. I did have a theory of who it's going to be, but it wasn't that person. It was someone, like, I was completely blindsided, I think that's how I used the word, from who it was, and I just keep thinking about it. I can't wait to pick up the next one and find out what happens. I think I've read somewhere there might be a third one, I'm not sure, but there's 2 out at the moment, and I gave this 5 stars. So the next book I read was actually an art, and I'll put it up on the screen here. It's The Wingman by Stephanie Archer, and I tell you, this book was so cute, so adorable. It's about Hayden and Darcy, and basically Darcy has just broken up with her longtime boyfriend. I think they were engaged, and she used to go to college with Hayden, and then the ex-boyfriend and her. They were like, I believe they're friends in college, and this is quite a few years later. And she decides to move to Vancouver, where Hayden lives. And then basically Hayden is kind of known as like a playboy sort of guy, and she really just wants to have fun. She doesn't want anything serious. So she enlists Hayden to help her have a bit more fun, and he helps her. But he gets like really protective and jealous whenever she talks to other guys. And then I think they live together or something like that. She stays with him, and then it kind of just like develops from there. She starts asking help for other things to show her how to do, and the spice is so good. And I remember just having a good time the whole book, smiling, enjoying it. I ate it up, and I gave that one a 5 stars. But now I am kind of questioning whether it should be maybe 4.5, because the last book that I read was 5. This is a bit of spoiler for the last book in this wrap up, but I gave that 5 stars, like infinity stars, and I've not had that feeling after reading a book or while reading that book for a very long time. And I feel like, I don't know, I think I'm just going to stick to 5 stars with this one. I'd say it's on the lower end of the 5 stars. So the next book I read was Wild Love by Elsie Silver. This is a small town cowboy sort of vibe romance, and it follows West and Skylar. And West has 2 children, and his ex-wife isn't in the picture. Well, she looks after the kids. They have like alternative weeks, I think. I'm not really 100% sure. And Skylar basically comes from the city. She's like a really famous singer. Does she act? I'm not sure. I know she's a famous singer, and she's always been controlled by like her parents and her manager. She's never really had freedom. So she decides to go to Rose Hill, where West's sister's husband or fiance or whatever they are, he runs his own like recording studio. So she decides to come here, get away from everything, and be able to write her own music. And then she turns up. When they first meet, it's really cute, and then she goes to the recording studio, and basically they haven't finished building it, because they would have like spaces for people to stay when they come and record, but they haven't finished building all the little houses. So Rosie suggests to Ford that Skylar can go stay in her brother's, I can't remember what they call it, a bunkhouse I think they call it, which is I guess another building on his land. And so she takes her there, and she stays there. And then she just starts to get close to West. West's 2 children are so adorable, and the instant trust Ollie has in Skylar, because I won't say much about his character because I want you to wait to find out, but that trust that she earns from him is so adorable and so cute. And she goes to like a music award, and she does a speech, and the speech she does, I don't want to say what she says in it because it is adorable, but I was sobbing. I wasn't saying I was sobbing, I was just crying. I had tears in my eyes because it's just so beautiful. I don't think this was one of my favourite Elsie Silver books, because it's hard to top like Heartless and Reckless and the whole Chestnut Spring series mostly in general. But this was still a good book. It was a decent book. I gave it 4 stars. And the last book I read this month, which is definitely probably might be one of my top books this year, is Play Along by Liz Tomford. If I could give this book infinity stars, I would, because Kennedy is the athletic trainer or something like that for the baseball team that Isaiah plays for, and they met 3 years previously to when this started, and like when he met her he was like, that would be my wife, and then they have this like, they're somehow both in Vegas at the same time, and they see each other, they spend the night with each other, and they somehow ended up getting drunkenly married in Vegas. It sort of turns into like a marriage of convenience to be able to help Kennedy in a way, because I don't want to say too much to spoil that part, but I'll say that. And the way they bicker it had me giggling. I loved this book because this is in the Windy City series. This is the 4th book, and the 2nd book is called The Right Move, and I gave that 5 stars, and I didn't think anything could top this. Like, I was like, there's no way nothing can top that book, but this one did. It blew it out of the park. Like, I can't stop thinking about it. I can't stop obsessing about it. And I just keep thinking about all the things they've done for each other. And it just melted my heart. And like, at the end, Isaiah gave Kennedy like the choice. Because when she's grown up, she's never had the choice in her life. She's never had choices to do what she wants in a way. So he gave her the choice. And that just shows the kind of man he is. He'd rather see her happy without her than... I don't want to say much else, but you kind of get that. But yeah, the found family that's in this whole series is just so good. The little like family they've all formed, and how they're all kind of like not related, but the dinners they have. I think they have like family dinners each weekend, and it's just so cute. I have no words. It's just phenomenal. And I feel like this had the perfect amount of spice, because I feel like some books have a bit too much spice where it takes away from the storyline too much, but I feel like this was the perfect amount. And Isaiah said quite a lot of times, my wife. Each time that I said that had me giggling. I was kicking my feet. You know the drill. And I'm not going to say what it is, but there's a song that I can't remember who I think Kennedy chooses to walk down the aisle to it when they get drunkenly married in Vegas. And then it becomes like kind of a running thing, and there's a scene it gets played in at one of the games. That's what I'm going to say, and I can't stop thinking about this book, guys. And if you haven't read this series, you should definitely go read it. The first book in it, Mile High, it's not everyone's favourites, and I can understand why it isn't, but I did like it. And then The Right Move, I gave that 5 stars, and then Caught Up is the third one, I gave that 4.5 stars, and this infinity stars. So I feel like you should definitely go read it, because it follows, like, it's not just one, like, sports. Like the first one is hockey romance, second one is basketball, then the third and fourth is baseball, and then the fifth one is coming out next year, I believe, and that's going to be hockey again. So I feel like it follows different ones, and I quite like that. And then, but they're all still like friends, so it's really cool to see. I feel like I could just say so much more about this book, but I think I'm just going to stop myself here, because otherwise we'll be here a while. So those are all the books I've read this month. I feel like I did have quite a good reading month. I gave a lot of, I can see like fluff or dust flying everywhere, so if you can see that, I'm sorry. I need to dust my room. I'm going to do it after this. But I wanted to get this filmed before the lighting, or before it got even greyer and darker than it is. But anyway, I can't remember what I was saying now. I've distracted myself. I think I was saying that I've had such a good reading month because I've given so many books 4 to 5 stars, and I don't usually get that, and I only gave one book that I've read this month below that. Thank you for watching today's video. If you aren't subscribed already, click the subscribe button. If you did like this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you want me to read a certain book or want me to do a certain video, put that in the comments below, and I'll see you next time. Bye!